What is going on, guys? SteelTwins back at you with another video and with our thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers 2021 NFL Draft class. The 2021 NFL Draft is in the books, and I must say, Kevin Colbert, looks like you've done it again. Looks like you've gifted us yet another great draft from the looks of it. A lot of young talent, a lot of very, very talented prospects that, quite honestly, in our honest opinions, could very well be the future of this team.
Absolutely, or at least that is the hope. A lot of needs sorted, a lot of depth drafted during the draft and even after the draft. We'll go through all that right here, right now, man. But, of course, it wouldn't be a Pittsburgh Steelers draft class without a few surprises. First of all, they didn't draft a receiver for the first time in 10 years, believe it or not.
Which doesn't come to a surprise because we don't need a wide receiver.
No, for once. Let's see. They traded up, actually, at one point in the draft. We'll get into that. And they even drafted a punter. Yes, they drafted a punter.
In which we will get into.
Our thoughts. Let's just get right into it, man. With the 24th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama.
This is the right pick.
We all knew this was the right pick. We all knew this was inevitable. As soon as Miami decided to take Jalen Phillips out of the U at 18, we all knew Najee Harris was going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Oh, without a doubt.
And, of course, as you guys know, we're all excited to have him as our lead back in the black and gold, wearing number 22, which looks absolutely phenomenal. And I got to say, I'm not a fan of getting rookie jerseys immediately after they're drafted, but there's something about Najee, man. Maybe it's that emotional connection on social media and with his Road to the Pros documentaries that Alabama has uploaded on YouTube, man.
Or just the way he looks in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform in general. Either way, he looks freaking awesome.
Plus, let's not forget his great, great character. The day of the draft, night one, he was actually helping the homeless with a pizza party, actually. With, I believe it was Pizza Hut. So, good stuff, man. It goes to show what type of character Najee Harris is, and it's just perfect in the black and gold. That's not the only great thing about him. We all know how dynamic he is on the field. No one denies his talent. But to have him in the black and gold behind Ben in the backfield, having our number one, day one starting immediate impact guy that we solely need at running back is great. Phenomenal pick right there by Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin and company, of course.
And this is a guy that will absolutely resurrect the Steelers rushing game, no doubt.
Absolutely. Najee just has it all, and having him in the black and gold is absolute delight. Can't wait to see him get on the field behind Ben, see what he can do in the rushing game. I know a lot of people want to go OLine here, but we all knew. If you guys paid attention to what the Steelers were doing and what Kevin Colbert was saying, you knew they weren't going to go offensive lineman round one. Maybe round two, but that wasn't even the case. They didn't go offensive lineman round two. They actually waited till round three. But with the 55th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Pat Freiermuth, tight end out of Penn State. Now, if you guys seen our live reactions on night two with Just Blaze 412, shout out to him, who we actually spent almost the whole draft week in Pittsburgh with him and some family, which was a great time. Wish we could go back. But
wish we never left.
Yeah, right. But
if you saw our live reactions, we were
all thrown back a little bit.
We were stunned. We were actually shocked because we were confident Steelers were going to go center considering they drafted Najee in the first round. But instead, they took Pat Freiermuth.
Now, them going Friarmuth isn't really a surprise, knowing because at the Penn State Pro Day, Mike Tomlin and tight end coach Alfredo Roberts, they hit it off real quick with Friarmuth. So it's no surprise that the Steelers actually drafted him. And when he was there, we all knew he was going to be a top option. The fact that he was there is actually surprising to me. The fact they took him is not much of a surprise. We were just thrown back because we all know we needed center. And Creed Humphrey was probably the second best center in the draft class after Landon Dickerson was still there. But they did not select him. Instead, they go tight end. That's why we were thrown back.
Yeah.
And we all know we needed a center.
Yes.
And at the time, we were all like, we should have gone Creed. We should have gone center.
We should have went center. But
because tight end could have waited. But
after more time and thinking, this is a great pick.
This is a really, really good pick. This guy has been, for 3 years actually, been given the nickname Baby Gronk. Whether he lives up to Gronk is yet to be determined.
With Pat Freiermuth, getting compared to Grunk, though, that's not tossed around. You don't just compare a man to as a baby Grunk. That's not normal.
As one of the best tight ends of all time. Now, this guy is going to be our number 2 this year, obviously, behind Ebron. Then I'm going to say when Ebron leaves next year, after this upcoming season, Friarmuth will be the number 1, which, of course, he has the talent to do so. Great receiving ability, very physical, can get up the field, and he obviously has blocking ability. Not the greatest, could be a little better, but that will come with time. With Alfredo Roberts. That will come with time.
Of course.
Which is going to be a great thing. He's already our best blocking tight end because Ebron just refuses to. He is horrible at blocking, which is why we grabbed Freiermuth. And with Canada's system, we need someone like Freiermuth in his system. Someone that can be tossed around in pre-snap motion. Someone that can block. Someone that can get up the field and disguise defenses and cause mismatches. That's why we went Freiermuth. And with him being there, again, not a surprise. Could we have gone center? Probably. With Creed there, and he went to the Chiefs a few picks later, yeah. Maybe in a few years that could come back a little bit, but if you look at it, the past few years, ever since Heath retired, man, we've been struggling at the tight end position.
Yeah, we've been pretty much playing hot potato with the tight end position. We have not been able to find a true heir to Heath Miller. We tried Ladarius Green.
And he couldn't stay healthy. We tried Jesse James. Not a number 1.
Not a good development whatsoever. We traded for Vance McDonald. He had his moments, but he wasn't consistent. Eric Ebron, although I like him, has his issues, and he can't block at all.
No.
Friarmuth has receiving ability. He can be a vertical threat. He has blocking ability. He is a man that, in my honest opinion, can be the heir to Heath Miller after so many years.
6'5", 260. The way I look at it, all those guys we just mentioned were nothing but substitutes. This guy is a pure replacement. And I don't really want to say replacement in terms of Heath because he's actually a guy you can't replace. When you look back at Steelers legends, he's actually one of those guys that's tough to replace. Very underrated is Heath Miller.
Of course.
But Freiermuth, man, was probably going to be our best prospect at tight end since Heath Miller. The guy has it all. He's going to get better with time as our number 2 this year and then eventually become the number 1. Love this pick. Ben's going to have a lot of fun with him. Love this pick for sure. Now, again, we could have went center with Creed Humphrey, but that will later be determined with the 87th pick, where the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Kendrick Green, interior offensive lineman out of Illinois. The reason why I say interior offensive lineman is because he is a guard center hybrid. But of course, Adrian Clem, our offensive line coach, and Tomlin and Colbert have all discussed with Green he will be seeing snaps at center. Whether he's a day 1 starter, we don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe he's only had 4 starts at center at Illinois.
Right.
So he has experience there. He's a nasty, mauling interior offensive lineman, which, I mean, if you look at our interior offensive lineman as of right now, or even look into the future, Kevin Dotson at left guard, you got Kendrick Green at center, and even David DeCastro at right guard. Fully healthy, by the way. That is nasty. With Najee Harris in the backfield, and then you're going to have the utilization of Derek Watt at fullback, and the possibility of Freiermuth being used in pre-snap motion as a fullback as well in Canada's system. That running game is going to be filthy. That Pittsburgh Steelers run-first team is back.
It's going to be revived. And a guy like Kendrick Green is a perfect center to have in there.
Right. Now,
Kendrick Green is a very underrated talent.
Now, first things first, again, we do wait for offensive linemen. We actually wait till the 3rd round. We go Najee round 1, then Freiermuth round 2. We wait till round 3 to finally go offensive line. And I think the reason why we wait till round 3 to go offensive line is, of course, they've already expressed they're moving Chuck Shakur to left tackle, which is probably his best spot. They resigned Zach Banner to a 2-year, $9.5 million deal, which means he's going to be the starting right tackle. That's confirmed. And they even brought back B.J. Finney, who is a familiar face for the offense and for Ben. And I'm going to say I think he is going to be our day 1 starting center before Green is eventually put in as the future center, which is where, again, Clem, Tomlin, and Colbert have all expressed to Green he will be getting snaps and practice at center.
Yeah.
And I love a guy like Kendrick Green, someone who many people have given comparisons to Marquise Pouncey, probably because of the way he looks, the fact he wore 53 at Illinois, but also, man, this guy is nasty. He has a wrestling background, which means he's physical. He's very athletic. He even said himself he thinks he's the most athletic offensive lineman in this draft.
And I can see why he says that. For a guy of his size being able to do what he can on the offensive line in Illinois, it's very impressive.
He has versatility at guard and center, but he's also a very good swing center / guard. He's very familiar with the zone run scheme, which is what he ran in Illinois, and I think that's what we're going to bring to our offense. So he already has experience there, which is great. Again, he has versatility on the line. He has a wrestling background. He's a mauler. He's physical. He's mean. He's nasty. He plays like it. He looks like it.
He definitely does.
So, like this pick, I know we went offensive lineman round 3.
I know. We waited for center in round 3. I get, we were all hoping and looking and thinking we were going to go for center round 2. But I can understand why they waited. Because, well, for round 1, we needed a day 1 starting running back in Najee. And when it comes to the running back class, outside the top 3, obviously, Harris, Etienne, and Williams, they're day 1 starters. Everybody else is not.
No.
As a matter of fact, after those 3 were taken, it took a while for the other guys to go.
In fact, the next running back that went after those guys, I believe, was Trey Sermon, who went immediately after the Kendrick Green pick.
Yeah.
So that goes to show you the gap that those guys that the running back position rather had. That's why we had to go Najee round 1. This is why we love that pick.
And when it comes to the running back class, it's not too stacked.
It's not as stacked as offensive line.
And the same with tight end.
Yes.
And the same with tight end, because if we went center with the 55th overall pick, there was a high possibility that neither of the other top remaining tight ends like Friarmuth or Long or even Tremble were going to be there at round 3, and we more than likely would have lost at a true caliber future tight end. So I can understand why they waited for center, because offensive line was so stacked.
And to the point, running back and tight end have much bigger value in their respective rounds which we drafted than offensive line. That's why we went Najee, that's why we went Freiermuth, and that's why we waited for round 3 to finally go offensive line, which is not really surprising to me. And looking at the prospects we got, I'm okay with it.
I'm fine with it.
And listen, these guys are going to be developments. I don't think these guys are going to be day 1 starters. That's the thing. So why go center round 2 or even round 1 when you probably know they're not going to be day 1 starters, with B.J. Finney being the familiar face there for Ben? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I think that's why they wait for center, plus the value at running back and tight end was much greater than offensive line just because of how stacked it was.
Of course.
So
you get your starting caliber air running back, you get an air tight end, and then you go center in the 3rd round because of how stacked it was.
Who, again, is going to be a project, and in my opinion, I could be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but he probably won't be a day 1 starter and will be a project at center before being slotted in there eventually, which is great.
Very good.
And if you look at the future, now you ain't got to look at it as a day 1 immediate type of thing. Look into a little bit further into the season and into next seasons. Green will be the center eventually. Maybe not day 1, but eventually. You still have Kevin Dodson for 3 years. David DeCastro still an elite guy when he's healthy. Najee Harris, he's only going to get better. Same thing with Freiermuth. He's going to be the number 2 this year, but will be the number 1. Those guys, look at it not immediately this season, but look into it a little further into the season, about like halfway next season or the season after that and after that. These guys will be the future. That's the thing.
Yeah, and when it comes to our history and day 2 selections, of course, at first we all question it, but then when they make an impact further into their rookie season, we all start to come around it. We all start to like it.
Of course. And that's the thing with Tomlin. He likes to let the rookies, I guess, I'm going to say it, marinate a little bit. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, that's the right word. You let them marinate, you let them develop, and when their time is right, you throw them in there, and they can showcase how they can be the future of this team.
And that's going to be the case for some of these guys, like Freiermuth and Green.
And they're all offense, too, and that's something that we needed.
We went offense, 4 straight picks. Najee, Freiermuth, Green, and with the 128th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Dan Moore Jr., offensive tackle at Texas A&M. They went offensive lineman 2 straight picks in the 3rd round and the 4th round. So they addressed running back and tight end, which again have much greater value in those rounds than the offensive line. Then they eventually went offensive line the next 2 picks. Great strategy. Great move, especially with the guys that were there. You had to pull the trigger. And looking back at it, I really agree with it. I love it. And same thing with Green. Dan Moore is going to be a project, and I think he has starting caliber talent.
Yeah, obviously not day 1.
No, because they're going to have Chucks and Banner as the starting left and right tackles. Again, why we waited for offensive linemen. People forget that. People wanted us to go offensive lineman round 1 and round 2. That wasn't going to happen unless a really talented guy dropped. But that wasn't going to happen because we already have guys set in stone on the depth chart to be starters. Again, Chuck's at left tackle, Banner right tackle, and probably B.J. Finney at center.
Right.
So we weren't going to go center so early, or offensive lineman rather so early. That's why we went with those guys rounds 1 and 2 and went offensive lineman 2 straight picks in the 3rd and 4th round. Those will be projects under new offensive line coach Adrian Clem.
And I think that's another goal the Steelers are wanting to try and test, see if this guy can really help this offensive line, because he's Adrian Clem. He says he wants to bring physicality and aggression back to this offensive line like it was.
And that's exactly what you get in a guy like Kendrick Green, who is nasty, a mauler, wrestling background, athletic, and same thing with Dan Moore Jr. He's going to be a project. He can be, first of all, a swing tackle, depth, of course, and then could possibly see time as a starter in the next year or 2.
Yeah.
Which is great for him.
Very good. You have them learn, you have them work their way up, and again, when the time is right, you throw them in there.
Yes.
Simple.
Gotta love it. So we went offense the first 4 picks. Love it. Which is exactly what we needed to address. And we finally go defense for the first time. As a matter of fact, Dan Moore in the 4th round would be the last offensive pick we would have in this draft class. The remaining picks would all be defense. So they addressed offense first with some big needs. Running back, tight end, center, and depth at tackle who could eventually become the starter.
Which is something that they needed to do.
And then they would address defensive depth the rest of the draft. Which I love. I love that strategy. Credit to Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, and company.
Big credit.
With the 140th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Buddy Johnson, linebacker out of Texas A&M. First of all, I don't know what it is with the Steelers double-dipping on schools, but they've done it the last 5 years. If you haven't kept track, 2017 they drafted Cameron Sutton and Joshua Dobbs, both of them from Tennessee. 2018, it was James Washington and Mason Rudolph from Oklahoma State. 2019, it was Devin Bush and Zach Gentry from Michigan. 2020, it was Anthony McFarland and Antoine Brooks Jr. from Maryland. Now this year, it's Dan Moore Jr. and Buddy Johnson from Texas A&M. They just love double-dipping on schools.
They really do.
But that's a good thing because it gives these guys familiarity and energy in the locker room, which is a good thing. Buddy Johnson, I like the pick. I know there were certain guys we could have taken, like a Dylan Moses who actually went undrafted, or a Cameron McGroin from Michigan who I think went in the 5th round. So there were guys we could have selected, but Buddy Johnson is one of those guys that has starting experience for, I think, 4 years, correct me if I'm wrong. But he was also a captain for Texas A&M in that defense, which is something that, of course, attached the Steelers to Buddy Johnson. And he's a guy with some speed, which I believe he ran a 4.57 at his pro day, which, we need speed at inside linebacker. We need that athletic ability. He is great, damn good against the run and on special teams, which is where he's going to, get his feet wet. Of course. So that's a good thing. We get into inside linebacker depth with Buddy Johnson, someone with speed, athleticism, damn good against the run, damn good on special teams.
And has experience calling plays on the field as he was a defensive captain for Texas A&M.
Again, that's exactly what attached the Steelers to Buddy Johnson, other than the guys I just listed. Buddy Johnson could be better in coverage, but of course, he's not going to be a day 1 starter. He's going to be developed a little bit, similar to Vince Williams. Of course. I think this guy could be like a faster Vince Williams.
Oh, I definitely see it.
Damn good against the run, only more athletic, much faster, and hopefully a lot better in coverage.
Yeah.
He's got a ways to go in terms of coverage, but of course, that's where he's going to be developed.
Yeah, that's where he's going to learn. Kind of like how Freiermuth, Green, and Moore are going to be. Johnson can easily learn and develop, and when his time is right, maybe he gets his name called.
Yes.
I like it. I like Buddy Johnson a lot.
Yes, we actually mocked him once in the 7th round, which is probably where he was more than likely, expected to go. Maybe not 7th, but a little earlier than that. But they go Buddy Johnson in the 4th.
I guess they see something really special in Buddy Johnson and seeing more tape and seeing more of him and reading more about him. I can understand why.
And at the linebacker position, especially with our inside linebacker coach, man, he has developed some damn good inside linebackers the past few years.
Yeah.
I mean, Devin Bush. He's done really well with Vince Williams since being inserted in that role when Keith Butler was promoted to D.C. Of course, Robert Spillane, Shazier.
Of course, Shazier.
The list goes on and on.
So Buddy Johnson could very well have his name in that list, too.
Definitely.
Who knows? Now, the first surprise of the Pittsburgh Steelers draft was that they actually made a trade.
Yes.
They actually traded up into the 5th round with the Miami Dolphins for the 156th overall pick.
And all they traded was a 2022 4th-round pick. That's it. It was literally a 2022 4th-round pick for the 156th overall pick because the Steelers did not have a 5th rounder.
No.
They wanted to get back into that 5th round, so they traded a 4th rounder for next year, which they're expecting a comp pick for that. So we're going to get that back. So that trade, damn good.
Very good.
Now, the player they selected with that pick, a little head-scratching. With the 156th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Isaiah Loudmilk, defensive lineman out of Wisconsin.
Now, when we first saw that the Steelers were trading back into the 5th round, we immediately thought cornerback.
Cornerback or edge. Maybe a Dalen Hayes from Notre Dame, who they really liked, or a Sean Wade from Ohio State to be the slot corner. That wasn't the fact. In fact, I would have preferred Sean Wade, knowing we need a slot corner. But that wasn't the case.
No, instead they decided to go defensive line depth, surprisingly, and they chose Isaiah Loudmilk out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I didn't think defensive line was a big need
or really a need at all, because if you're looking at our talent and our depth at defensive line, it's pretty much the same as last year. And last year it was good. We don't really need defensive line depth at all, in my honest opinion.
Right. Now, of course, when guys went down, it wasn't the greatest, which might explain why they traded up to get D-line depth in Loudmilk, who is a damn good run stuffer, I will say. He's good at closing the lanes and stuff like that. Not much stats in the pass rush, but he's a guy that can clog holes, has ways to go, but can play anywhere on the D-line for us. So that's probably what attached them to Loudmilk, a development, and maybe when he wanted to secure extra depth, but also competition in training camp, because I will say I do like our D-line depth before Loudmilk with Bugs and Carlos Davis and Chris Wormley and guys like that, right?
Yeah.
In fact, we retained them all this year. But that might also explain why they went for Loudmilk. Maybe they weren't too pleased with their D-line depth. Maybe they weren't too pleased with a specific guy. Maybe that's why they went Loudmilk. I didn't think D-line was a need, but maybe the Steelers did. Obviously they did. That's why they went Loudmilk. They traded up into the 5th round for Loudmilk.
Yeah, so they obviously see something in the guy. I mean, I will give him this. He's a very good run stuffer. I'll give him that. If he can work himself in the pass rush, then maybe he can be a nice quality depth.
Keith Butler actually said he reminds him of a young Cam Hayward. I don't see it. I'm going to be real with you. I didn't know who this dude was when we selected him. I was really expecting corner or edge, but we went D-line depth. Now, I will say that's out of this entire draft class, that's the one knack that I would give. But who knows? Maybe this guy surprises me. As of right now, I see him nothing more than a practice squad development, but I could be completely wrong.
Again, absolutely.
I knew
we'll give him a shot.
Again, I knew nothing about him, but I'm not going to harbor much on him because, again, I don't know much about him, and I got to trust Colbert. I do. So we go D-line depth, and I guess you can't really have too much D-line depth. And trading a 2022 4th-round pick, something that we're probably going to get back next year, not too bad.
Also having a defensive line coach in Kyle Dunbar, you can't go wrong with that.
Right, and I know we passed on like a Sean Wade or a Dalen Hayes and stuff like that, guys we definitely could have used. But, again, maybe they have confidence in some of their guys. Because, in fact, they didn't go corner until late, believe it or not.
No, they didn't.
In fact, if you want to consider it, they didn't go corner at all because the guy they did select for the secondary could probably be a safety. So maybe they have faith in some of their guys, like a Justin Lane, who I don't know why he's still on the team.
More so with James Pierre, really. James Pierre's really been getting his name called a lot this offseason when it comes to getting a chance at slot corner.
Right, or even a guy that they picked up after the draft, which we'll get into. But they went Loudmilk, so we'll see what he can do. Now with the 216th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Quentin Rochet, edge out of the U from Miami. We finally went edge depth, and I got to say, getting a guy like Quentin Rochet, who the Steelers had a 3rd/4th round grade on him, and getting him in the 6th round, that's a damn steal.
That is a massive steal right there when it comes to edge depth.
That is great value for a guy like Quentin Rochet. And
I will say, I was actually surprised that he was still there in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Because I've been hearing, I was hearing leading up to the draft that he could have gone possibly late day 2, early day 3.
But he lasted all the way to the 6th, and we selected him with that pick.
And quite frankly, I don't know how he did. But, hey, I mean, it's good for us because we now have very good quality depth at edge. And we know we needed it.
Very good rotational depth behind Highsmith and Watt, which is exactly what we needed because I don't trust Cassius Marsh. So getting a guy like Rochet, who is, yes, he is unproven. He's a rookie. But from the talent I've seen from this guy and what he did in his 3 years at Temple, where he excelled, had over, I believe, 30 sacks in 3 years before transferring to the U after Gregory Rousseau opted out, and he was paired with Jalen Phillips last year. Did damn good.
He did really good.
So I like this pick a lot. I actually love this pick. I think it's a steal for edge depth, something we definitely needed. But have this guy last like that, great value, great steal, and I think he'll do really good behind Watt and Highsmith in a rotational role.
No doubt, brother. He's got a mean streak. He's not the fastest or the strongest, but, when the ball is snapped, he's got a mean streak.
He can get to the quarterback. He's really good against the run, which is, all you ask for from a rotational guy. So I think this guy is going to be a nice piece to the defense.
Yeah.
Now, with the 245th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Trey Norwood, defensive back, Swiss Army knife, as what Tomlin says, from Oklahoma. So we do go defensive back. We finally go secondary, but it's not until the first pick in the 7th round, which gives you indication, one, they are very high on some of the guys they currently have. It's necessary because, all the picks that we had before this was definitely arguably much more important. And we had a lot of needs to fill, especially when it came to depth and especially on the defense. I get why they kind of waited.
Yeah. And Trey Norwood out of Oklahoma, he's a versatile piece. He's got an eye for the ball. He actually had 5 picks last year as the nickel corner for them.
Right. And he can play safety. He can play slot corner. So I think.
And speaking of safety, I believe I heard something earlier today that the Steelers are looking to move him to safety for safety depth.
So he is a versatile piece, but if they're going to move him to safety, who's going to be our slot corner? Now, that discussion we'll get into a little after the actual draft when we get into the undrafted free agents, because there's a specific guy that they picked up who I don't know how he went undrafted, but I think could be a really good a slot corner for us. Possibly day 1, I'm going to say that.
Yeah, but Trey Norwood, not a bad pick whatsoever, I will say. The only thing that I don't like about him, though, is his tackling ability.
Yeah, it's pretty messy. It's like he refuses to tackle.
But hopefully, which is, especially moving to safety, you got to tackle.
Right, but hopefully, we can work on that for sure. But another versatile piece to the defense, can't really complain whatsoever.
And with Tomlin calling him a Swiss Army knife, maybe he has something going for Norwood. Now, with the Steelers' final selection, the 254th overall pick, they selected Preston Harvin III, punter, out of Georgia Tech. They actually went punter with the last selection.
I love this.
I'll tell you what, this guy is big.
Thick boy.
He is really, really big. He actually won the Ray Guy Award.
Unanimously. He averaged 44 yards a punt at Georgia Tech. He is so that goes to show you, he is someone with an elite leg, great hang time, and believe it or not, can also run fakes, as he threw a 41-yard dime for a touchdown versus the U in 2019.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'd say this is his job to lose, not Barry's. Barry, see you later.
Yeah, Barry, the many years he's been our opponent, very inconsistent. And several times he's pretty much put our opponent in their own territory. We can't have that anymore.
That's why I love this pick, because he's competition for Barry for sure, but I think this guy, I'm going to say it has potential to be like another Pat McAfee on the field.
Shoot, even Pat McAfee on Twitter, likes this pick.
Hashtag for the brand.
Yeah, seriously. He likes this guy. He really does.
This guy is great. He's someone that can pin the team in their own end zone, someone with great hang time, which gives, obviously, our guys time to get down the field. So it's great. This guy is going to be our next punter, and I'm excited to see what he can do on special teams and help out a special teams that has struggled because of Barry's inconsistency. Did he have his best season last year? Sure, but for the first time in 4 years?
Yeah, we don't want to have to deal with that again.
Let's not forget, Barry didn't make the initial 53-man roster last year because they had Dustin Colquitt,
veteran punter,
who actually didn't do too well, so they had to bring back Barry.
Yeah.
They had to. Now they actually draft a punter. Could we have waited until undrafted free agency? No. Why? Because there's not a guarantee he would have went to the Steelers. That's why we went punter with the last pick in this draft.
And I'm fine with that.
We guaranteed to have a punter on this team in Preston Harvin, who, again, won the Ray Guy Award unanimously and is someone that can run fakes. I love this pick. This helps out.
I'm a big fan of this pick.
Special teams is so critical, and a guy like Harvin will definitely help us out a lot.
And you can tell the Steelers are definitely looking to upgrade special teams. They've actually been doing it since last year, when they acquired Ray McLeod. And you know how he has been for our return game. He's actually been the best in quite a long time.
And we all know what Chris Boswell can do. We just need a very consistent punter.
And I think they found their guy in Preston Harvin, man.
This is his job to lose, not Barry's. This is his job to lose. I'm excited to see what he can do for special teams. It definitely help out our team a lot, and even our defense and offense. Because if you can pin them, the opposite team, down in their end zone, that helps out the defense a lot. That causes a lot of pressure on the opposing offense. And if this defense, which I'm excited for this year, yes, I know we lost some pieces in Bud Dupree and Mike Hilton and guys like that, but we have guys already in mind that are going to replace them. That's why we drafted Alex Highsmith last year in the 3rd round.
Indeed.
And we have Cameron Sutton moving outside. So defense, yeah, we lost some familiar faces, but we got guys that are going to step in. So you add that defense, which could force 3-and-outs regularly, and forcing the team, the opposing team, to punt in their own end zone, and giving our new stacked offense with a great rushing game and a revived offensive line
and a quality tight end now.
Great field position. I'm just saying. That's why we went for a guy like Harvin. And I think this pick is going to do wonders.
I think it's really going to benefit this team a lot. I like it. And I like this draft class. I really do. I'm a huge fan of this draft class.
Absolutely.
I think this draft class has a lot of talent and a lot of potential.
Love this draft class. I would give it a chef's kiss. We went running back. We went tight end. The value for those two positions were much greater in those rounds than offensive line. Then we went offensive line, 2 straight picks in the 3rd and 4th round. And then we finished the whole draft with defensive depth at linebacker, D-line, edge, and defensive back. But that is not where we finished because, of course, we took a punter to end the draft. But, of course, undrafted free agency, we immediately striked with 8 undrafted rookie free agents. And the first one they signed was a great one. Someone that actually had a 3rd/4th round grade. I don't know how this guy went undrafted. I really don't.
Neither do I.
It was to the point they offered him $25,000 signing bonus, which means they wanted to secure this guy. They know they had to get defensive depth for other positions earlier than defensive back, which is why they waited for Trey Norwood in the 7th. But they offered this guy that type of money to secure him. That guy's name is Shakur Brown, cornerback out of Michigan State.
And it goes to show the type of talent that this team thinks he has. And Shakur Brown is another very underrated defensive back, man. Leading up to the draft, we actually put Shakur Brown in one of our mocks as a 4th round selection. And surprisingly, he went undrafted. That's where we acquired him as an undrafted free agent. I'll tell you what, this guy's a pure slot man.
Definitely a pure slot man. He has experience outside, but of course with his size limitations, he's going to be put in the slot purely, which is where he's going to shine. He has experience there. He's a guy that is a good run defender, which is what we need, of course. Is someone that really has an eye for the ball, can attack the ball. He has the mentality like, I'm going to attack this ball. I'm going to get this ball. I'm going to be a playmaker. And that's exactly what he is. That's exactly what he was last year. He had 5 picks in just 7 games.
It's impressive.
And he went undrafted after having a 3rd, 4th, 5th round grade. I don't get it. I know he didn't have much starting time at Michigan State, but when he did, he really shined. And I think this guy, I'm going to make a bold prediction. Shakur Brown is going to be our starting slot corner, day 1. Not James Pierre, not Justin Lane, not Antoine Brooks, not Trey Norwood. Shakur Brown. He is going to be our starting slot corner day 1.
And I can see it. This guy has a lot of talent. He's very versatile. He's very aggressive, has an eye for the ball. He's a willing tackler. He actually reminds me a lot of Mike Hilton. And Mike Hilton, obviously an undrafted free agent himself, was very underrated, and all he needed was an opportunity. And when he got the opportunity, he showed what the hell he could do.
I think this guy will have the same route, and meaning like he went undrafted and he can be our day 1 starting nickel guy. But also, if you look at it from an aspect like Mike Hilton, he came from Ole Miss, right? So did Senquez Golson. We drafted Senquez Golson in the 2nd round, and he didn't play 1 snap at all. Not one, not even in the preseason. We drafted him in the second round to be a slot guy. And then his teammate from that school,
Mike Hilton,
would eventually be Senquez Golson, only he went undrafted. And I think Shakur Brown can be very similar in the terms of Justin Lane,
who was from Michigan State.
See where I'm going here?
I can see it happening.
I'm a big fan of Shakur Brown. I think this guy will be our day one starting nickel guy. Love the pickup, and the fact that they gave him or offered him $25,000 signing bonus, they wanted to lock this guy up. And they just had to wait for a defensive back because they had top, better defensive depth needs over corner.
Indeed. And it goes to show what they really think of Shakur Brown.
But that wasn't the only corner that we would pick up after the draft, with Mark Gilbert, who is a cornerback from Duke, as well as Donovan Stinger, he's a safety from Florida State, as well as Lamont Wade, safety from Penn State. So we went 4 defensive backs undrafted. So we waited until the 7th round to finally go defensive back, but we added some undrafted talent at that position as well for some competition.
Yes, we did.
Now, unless we sign someone after the draft, which I'm still hoping for, Brian Poole, please. That's what I'm hoping for.
Fingers crossed.
But I doubt that's going to happen because of the talent that they added after the draft and in the draft and the guys they have now who they obviously are confident in. And James Pierre, Justin Lane, guys like that.
Yeah.
So, would I like them to go corner, slot corner after the draft? Yes. But I don't think it's going to happen anymore, knowing they picked up 4 defensive backs after the draft as well as 1 in the draft and the guys they have now on the roster. So, but I like it. I like competition, and you can never have too many defensive backs.
Of course not.
Never. So I like I like that there's going to be a lot of competition come training camp for that slot corner role.
Yeah, they really want to see what these guys are capable of, see if they can really earn their shot.
Right. Now, on offense, they picked up wide receiver Rico Boozy from Hawaii, who was a deep threat for North Texas before transferring to Hawaii. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, he had a breakout 2018 season before going down with ACL injury in 2019 and hasn't recovered since. But someone that could see time and could be a nice practice squad body and work his way up later.
Yeah.
As well as wide receiver Isaiah McCoy from Kent State.
And to finish off, we signed Calvin Bundage, linebacker out of Oklahoma State, and Jamar Watson, linebacker from Kentucky.
Right. So those are our 8 undrafted free agent rookies with our 9 draft picks in this draft class. And I got to say, it has the potential to be another Colbert masterclass.
It does. It really does.
With the picks we got and the value that these positions had at their selections, I'd say it was a very good draft. I'm not going to give it a grade yet because it's like grading a test. You can't grade the test if the test hasn't been given out yet.
Of course.
These guys haven't played yet. So let's see what these guys are made of, and then hopefully in a year or so now, we can give it an actual grade. But I like this class a lot. Again, I give it a chef's kiss. Really love it. The value that we got these guys at in their respective rounds. Good shit from Colbert and Tomlin, man. Hopefully this has potential to be another master class, but we'll see what these guys can do come training camp. Can't wait to see these guys in the black and gold. And hopefully get some of their guys' jerseys in the next few years.
Absolutely.
Especially Najee Harris.
Yeah, real excited to see what these guys can do in the black and gold, man.
Definitely. We addressed a lot of offensive needs early in the draft, and then to close it out, we went defensive depth, which we obviously needed. And then we even got our next great punter, and Preston Harvin III. Thick boy.
If you ask me, you can't go any better than that.
No, you can't.
Can't get any better than that, really.
No, you can't. So, love this class, man. Let us know your guys' thoughts down below. The NFL draft is officially in the books. Draft season is over, unfortunately, but, hey, we got till next year, right?
We got till next year. Training camp is coming up ahead, and the Pittsburgh Steelers schedule release will be released very soon, later this month, actually.
Yes, which we will obviously be making a video about that, giving our record predictions. And I'm going to say this right here, right now. I know after this this past underwhelming season that we were very critical of the team, rightfully so, and we weren't really our expectations were pretty low coming into the offseason, even in the draft. But seeing how they've finessed the cap and how they've found every which way scenario to keep some guys like Juju and Sutton and Alualu and
Williams,
and
of
Spillane. Course, and Ben took a pay cut, and seeing what they did in free agency and brought the guys that they brought in and the guys that they're able to keep, and seeing what they did in the draft.
Yeah, it's like this was really unexpected from me and Dan right here. And I got to give Colbert, Tomlin, and the Pittsburgh Steelers credit. And they're doing real good in this offseason so far.
And nor should we doubt those two.
No, always have trust and faith in those guys.
Absolutely. So I tip my cap to those guys for sure.
That is why they still have their jobs. That's why they've been with this organization for almost 2 decades now.
Right. So I couldn't ask for a better duo, but hopefully this class turns out to be another great one from Colbert and Tomlin. But we'll see what these guys can do. And my expectation level is, I don't want to get too high, otherwise I'll get, a little disappointed. But I am excited. And seeing what our schedule could look like, man, I'm hopeful. We'll see what these guys can do. We'll see what the record is, or what the schedule is, rather. Then we can give our record predictions, but that's not until another 2 weeks. But anyway, guys, let us know your guys' thoughts down below. Here we go, Steelers. Let's see what these guys got. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome to the Steel City. Welcome to the black and gold. Let's get to work, gentlemen.
Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!